Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of the GSC Weekly News Podcast. We are recording here on the 26th of March, 2025, at about 10 to 10 in the evening GMT. I am your host, as always, Harry Glenn Jones, aka Nayfish Crayfish. And with me today, I have just the two of us. We are one man down. We have lost him, unfortunately, to the quarantine zone. So we have no Adam Stewart with us today, no AKA, not Addy. So unfortunately, we will not be able to hear from him about certain escapades he's been on. But with me today, I do have Lady V to start with. How are you, V?
I'm very well, thank you. Lovely to be back on the news podcast, back at it, chatting.
Yep, great to have you back. And we've also got our man, Mark Powell, aka We Woke in the Hive. How are you, buddy?
Hey guys, good to be back. Plenty to talk about this week, so looking forward to getting stuck in with it. Also looking forward to British summertime, actually, Harry, not just GMT anymore.
You're right. I know. I need to keep up with the lingo.
Almost summer.
Almost there. It's creeping up. It is getting warmer, definitely. And actually, yeah, it's moved definitely into springtime here. We've got the cherry blossoms coming out now, which is lovely. Very fortunate to have one of those over our very small little courtyard here. So when that started coming out, I was like, yeah, this is nice. Rather this than the grey mornings. But yeah, you're right, Mark. We've got a lot to talk about. It has been a busy week. And also, we need to catch everybody up on what we've been up to as well, of course. We have been talking behind the scenes about what we're going to be doing with the podcast a bit. Currently, right now, obviously, we've still got the GSC Weekly News Podcast going, as you can tell. But even with this one, we're going to be trying a few things out. And we'd really like your feedback on that. You know, you'll see today there might be a little bit of a different structure. Might cover a couple of different topics. One of the key things to note is that we are still going to cover the news, but we're not going to cover things that we've necessarily covered on the site already. You know, we cover the news as a team already. We do a lot of writing on that, and we'd really appreciate it if you came and read our material, obviously, on those sort of topics. So if we don't cover something here today, it's probably because we've written about it, and it'd be worth visiting the site. Speaking of which, of course, that would be www.gamersocialclub.ca, where you can find all of our work doing news, reviews, editorials, guides, interviews, and all manner of other things around gaming. And of course, you are currently watching us on the GSC YouTube channel, where you can find more of our podcasts, our interviews, our video guides that we have here. And yeah, any future content, obviously, that comes up. So consider, subscribing to the channel. And yeah, especially with this episode, and as we go forward, any feedback you may have, please drop it in the comments below. We'd love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed today's video, consider dropping a like. Now, is there anything else? Oh, yes, of course. The socials, quickly. We are on many of the social channels. We are on Twitter /X at gamer_S_C. We are Gamer Social Club, Blue Sky, and on Threads. And we also have the Facebook page if you wanted to follow us there, if that's your choice. Right, I think that is what we collectively call the rigmarole out the way, with a bit more of an update there. But yeah, we are going to start with actually what we have been playing, what we've been enjoying the last week or so, because there's been a lot of cool games coming out. And if you watched the last episode that came out, you will know that we played 33 Immortals. We got to be hands-on with that behind the scenes before release, which is very exciting. A whole bunch of us got to actually crew up and do that, which is brilliant fun. Lady V and I were two of those people. And since then, of course, a lot of other people have started playing it as well since it launched about coming up to a week ago, if I'm correct, or is it not quite? No, 5 or 6 days.
Just over a week. It's just over a week. Yeah, I think it was a week on Thursday. I think
that's right. It was the 18th, wasn't
it?
The
18th. Yeah,
that's right. Yes, thank you. Yeah. So obviously, a lot of people have been jumping in on Xbox and on PC to play that. Mark, I believe you've jumped in as well, haven't you?
Yeah, and largely attributed to you guys holding my hand quite a bit, because I still don't know what I'm doing.
You certainly didn't. I
definitely not.
You needed our help. You did very well, man. I mean, at the end of the day, you got to the final boss with us at least twice, if I remember correctly, and compared to our ventures into the beyond, the first time when we couldn't even make it out of the first torture chamber, I think you stand in much better stead than we did starting out. But yeah, why don't we start with you then, actually? Because we can talk a little bit, V and I, about like our change and maybe in our impressions of the game since we did the sort of review, which was of course written by Phrase, but we all sort of chipped in, gave our kind of thoughts on it. But yeah, what are your sort of first impressions of the game, Mark, since you started?
Yeah, for an early access game, I'm actually really impressed. I think it always looked a really positive launch, kind of leading up to the game coming out. I did have reservations that it might be incredibly stressful playing with 32 other people, but actually it does seem that every player kind of has a role, and it's quite simple to jump in with others, which is really really satisfying. I don't whether you're jumping into a torture chamber with six other people. It still seems to be completely doable. Definitely jumping in with a squad of 3 others is the right way to go. And I think the game's well set up to get squads to come together to play the game. But really impressed. I think there is a lot of space for the game to grow. I think with new maps as the game comes out of early access in the future, I think some of the bosses are pretty satisfying. I think some of the enemy variety probably needs a bit of work as time goes. But fundamentally, I think it's really solid. That comes from somebody who didn't particularly like Hades, which don't shoot me. But it's
so
definitely
you're now
got
banned
Hades
from the
vibes.
podcast. You have to leave. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's definitely got Hades vibes, and admittedly that didn't really do it for me. But jumping in with other people definitely is it's good fun, and looking forward to playing more. But guys have been killing it, getting lots of W's in the against the bosses. So I think you'll have a lot more to say than me.
Yeah, I mean, V and I have certainly played a lot since we got the chance to play it, and obviously we had to wait until it released then to get back to it. Because when we did play it, we in early access, or sorry, in the sort of NDA period, embargo period, we only had about 2 hours to play it, and I would say that definitely had an impact, I think, on certainly how I perceived the game through my experience with it, and having played it now a hell of a lot more, at least 10 times that. My impressions of the game have drastically changed, certainly since when we first sort of chatted about it after our first 2 hours. But V, let me let you go first on this one, because I know I've got a lot to say, but I want to make sure that you get your thoughts out first.
Okay. Yeah, I think we're pretty similar thoughts on it, actually, to be fair. So when we first played the sort of NDA review period of it, I thought it had a lot of potential, but there was a lot of feedback that we gave that potentially wasn't necessarily reflected in some of the other early access reviews of the game. But, you know, when you only have 2 hours, especially with something like a roguelike, where essentially the whole point of the game is you have to die a couple of times in order, or more than a couple of times, in order to build up some of your stats and things like that before you can get back into it. 2 hours is not a lot to have like necessarily the best first impression. But after we jumped back in, I think we've played it almost every evening, apart from some of last weekend, because people were busy, and last night purely because we all decided it would probably be a good idea to get some sleep.
Yep.
So yeah, Harry and I have been on 33 Immortals almost every day since it properly released into early access. And I'm having an amazing time with it. Like, I just think it's like fantastic. There's been a few little niggles here and there. There's some bugs. It is in early access, but the guys over at Thunder Lotus are addressing those quite quickly as much as possible, especially the ones that affect progression. And yeah, we've gotten to a point now that, you know, where if you look at the site, which I really would encourage you to do, especially if you're interested in it, Harry's written loads of guides for it, just in terms of, you know, weapon builds or how to get started, so you have maybe less of a frustrating time in those first couple of runs that you do. But yeah, no, I love it. The whole Dante's Inferno or the Divine Comedy speaks to me a lot. I read that book when I was like 16 or something like that, which was a longer time than I'm going to say on this podcast. But yeah, it's like, it's really good fun, especially when you team up with friends. Like, because last week we didn't do the podcast, obviously, because we were making a lot of changes, but 5 of us, because Mark, you had to drop off, and then we were joined by Andres, who is a Discord member of the site. He jumped in so that we could all stream us trying to defeat the first boss, and I think that was basically almost everyone's first win when we got that. But yeah, just good build variety. I'm really looking forward to when we can go into the second level, Purgatorio, and not immediately die. But yeah, it's going from struggling to get through that first torture chamber. Although I will point out, I did not die in there. I soloed the boss in that first torture chamber in our 2-hour session. Like, but yeah, going from that to consistently jumping in with just people all over the world, and like even just 2 people at a time, and being able to beat the boss consistently is great. There's a lot of good unlocks. The once you start upgrading your weapon and stuff like that, and the fact that you can sort of adapt your gameplay to the way that you would like it to be with those weapons, but you're still encouraged to use the other weapons, so that you can fully power up your character. Yeah, I think it's got a huge amount of potential. I'm really looking forward to what they do with it as it goes through early access. It would be nice to see potentially like a secret boss or another boss at the end of the first biome, and see how they incorporate all of that into it as it goes forward. But I'm having a blast with it. I would recommend it to anybody, even if you're not necessarily a massive roguelike fan, because I think, as Mark said, if you can jump in with a group of friends, then you're going to have a good time, regardless if that's not necessarily your type of game. Also, daggers are the best. Everyone should use the daggers. Don't listen to Harry's propaganda about the sword. It's daggers all the way.
Don't listen to me, everybody. She doesn't know what she's talking about.
What's the highest crit you've ever done on
if you haven't
an
heard the
enemy?
full slogan already, she has no empathy whatsoever, so don't trust a word out of her mouth.
Yeah, but you've not answered the question about your highest crit, Harry. Like, what's your highest crit you've ever done with the sword?
I'm not about doing damage. I tank. That is my role. I eat up dust and I tank.
Okay.
I make sure I survive. That's what I do. But no, I completely agree with everything you said, and I do think that since the embargo period, 2 hours with the game, and then us obviously trying to get our thoughts down into some sort of review, or impressions at least of the early access period. One thing that has to be said is that I think a game like this suffered for having given us such little time, and that's not sort of meant to be passing on blame. It's just a situation where now, having spent more time with the game, we have a much better understanding of things like how progression is handled. We had a sort of knee-jerk reaction, for example, to one of the currencies being used as a income, both as a permanent source of being able to not upgrade, but you could use it to unlock cosmetics, and then also use it to remove a negative effect that gets put on you, which reduces your health after you get resurrected by another player for the first time. You can die twice essentially in the game, which is quite fun. The first death, you turn into a little mote of light that floats around for for about 30 seconds or so, and players can come up and revive you. But when you come back, you only have about 25% of your health. You can get rid of that by going to particular shrines where you spend this currency that then obviously reduces that effect by, I think, 25% per time you do it. And at that moment, when we first had that, we were dealing with the idea of, we can res each other. That's great. We can keep going. Oh, wait, you come back with so little health. This is really tough. How are we going to keep going? How can we get our health back? Do we earn it back through killing, bigger monsters or going and doing the torture chambers? No, nothing seems to be fixing this. We spend a bit of time looking around, discover we can use this currency that we assumed was only for cosmetics, but can now be used to heal us, to fix our health issue. And we were like, oh no, that doesn't work. I don't like that. Now, having spent dozens of more hours with the game, I now look at that currency and I think like, well, I've got more than I need to actually buy the cosmetics I have. Like I at the time reacted with like a sense of, oh no, this is going to be really hard to get. Like this what they're asking for is too much. Like this doesn't make sense. This should be a different currency. For you being used for this healing mechanic as opposed to the one used for cosmetics. I want to save this up surely to spend on these hard-earned cosmetics that I get through playing. But now it's come to light that like, oh, actually, that's not the case necessarily. And if you play it with people, especially and you're a cooperative player, because that's what the currency is earned through doing, is being a part of a team more often than not, and healing other players, like reviving other players, attacking the same enemies to build up your co-strike meter. All these things benefit it and earn you that currency. So the more of a team player you are, the more you get it. And that's very much 33 Immortals is sort of ethos. It's sort of whole thing is to make you feel like you're part of a team, I think. Whether it's just your little squad that you go in with, or the 6-man teams when you enter a torture chamber, or the full however many of you make it to the end boss, of that bit of that area, that plane of the beyond. I think, again, to your point, of suggesting it to players who may not be fans of roguelikes, I've become a fan of roguelikes, but much like games like this, like the Souls genre, games that have that harder difficulty curve, I've always found easier to do when I've been able to do it in a cooperative setting, because you are no
Which
longer
is why
struggling.
Dark Souls 2 is the best one. Yeah, obviously.
I just lay them up. And you just knock them down. But it's true, though. It is actually true that for me, at least, that I think these sort of experiences can be made significantly better, and you can still, and people can find the joy in this difficulty and still have to handle that difficulty. But by doing it with others, you don't feel like you're doing it alone. You don't feel like the struggle is hopeless because others are struggling alongside you. You're all progressing, you're all getting better, you're all getting stronger and learning and all the rest of it. And to be able to do that alongside each other and, turn to the person who's next to you and have to revive them to pull them back into the fight, midway through the boss and stuff like that. There's a real sense of like everyone pulls together. And I think the game in a lot of different ways is designed in a very clever sense to keep that sort of that energy or vibe, basically, of think about who you're with. It's never worth going out solo. You don't benefit from running off on your own generally. Like there's very little to be earned trying to do anything on your own in this game. You should stay with the pack, move as a team, and ultimately just try to do as much as you can to benefit the team as a whole. So many of the perks not the perks, sorry, the relics that you get, and some of the perks as well. Sorry, yeah, the perks and relics, the things you equip for your runs or you unlock during your run temporarily. But so many of them are tied to this does this for your teammates as well as you. You'll get 10% damage, but they'll also get 10% damage. And if they're, or the more of your teammates that are near to you, the more this buff goes up.
Yeah. So, you got 28 of you going into the boss, and everyone gets 8% damage if they're close to each other, and you're huddled into that small funnel. You're going to melt down those health bars so quickly.
That's it.
And also, especially in terms of like partying up, not just playing as part of a team where you're not chatting to people, like the secondary resurrection mechanic. So obviously you can resurrect every individual once as they play the game, but if you're in a party, then you have unlimited revives on your party members as long as one person's left alive. If they can get to a resurrection shrine, they can bring back all 3 of your party members and bring them back into it. If one person manages to finish that ascension battle, then everyone gets to go and face the boss. Yeah, they might only have one last time to die. So, you have to play it a little bit safer, but, it's not, oh, well, someone's died. Should we quit out? Should we just start again? It's like, no, we can keep bringing people back. We can res them back in, like it keeps it very party orientated, which I think is really fun. I've not played a lot of games actually where that's the case. Where
I didn't know you could do that. I didn't know.
That's because the first run we played together, which I think was your second run of all time, you outlived me, despite the fact I'd played it for like 24 hours. Like, so
But yeah,
you just got to the boss with full health. The man's a gaming machine. Like, it's just
you heard it there. You heard it here first.
And obviously, if anyone wants to join the Discord and jump in some sessions with us, the party code's always available. So, you know,
absolutely.
Yeah, you can join in with us and have your say on what is the best weapon if you think it's not the daggers.
We're not doing a poll, okay? We're not doing a poll. I'm not opening us up to that fissure it will create in the community. There'll be at least two factions, and it will just ruin us. It will tear us asunder. But no, I agree. I think it's a very special game for how they managed to do that, how they managed to cultivate an environment where people, you know, feel the need to help each other, not just because it's the only way to survive, but it benefits them. Like there is this, it's a very sort of what's the symbiotic kind of relationship in that respect, I guess, with everybody around you, and you're all feeding off each other's, like, you know, abilities and relics and perks and all sorts of things. So, and now we're at the point now where if you go online and look on YouTube, that people have already developed the most just crazy builds and things like that. It's like I watched a 30-second clip of a guy running bow, and I'm guessing it's a combination of perks that just help build up your power meter, your core power meter, because he would be doing his attack, his group attack, where they do the arrows. There's a volley of arrows, which is really powerful. Hits dozens and dozens of times. Every time it hits, it drops bones from whatever it hits. Oh no, sorry, that's tied to the greedy strikes, isn't it? But they had that equipped
for your
as
daggers,
well.
yeah.
From daggers.
You have to have a dagger user in order to enable this.
Yeah, so they did that clearly beforehand, but what was happening is you could watch as his bar in the corner was just literally just very steadily, very quickly, within 8 to 10 seconds, filling up again. You know, so he'd let the volley go, run in, fire some of his own shots, jump back out. By the time the volley had finished, he was basically charged up for the next one. You know, and it's like, okay, wow, we're there already, where people have just completely demolished like any sign of like, oh, this is difficult now. It's like, no, the first boss of the Inferno plane now is well and truly conquered, I think, by the community. But that's not to say that everyone will still find it easy, because it's a tough fight to tackle the first few times. You have to learn what's going on, and hopefully you're with a group of people who know what they're doing, and you're clever enough to follow what they're doing, or they're good enough to mark where to go using the emotes and stuff like that, because again, those become so useful when you're still learning what's going on, to keep an eye out for when people are chucking those out, because it's valuable information a lot of the time. But yeah, before we go on to like new stuff, Mark, was there anything else you wanted to bring up? Because obviously V and I chatted along that bit there about 33 Immortals. Any other games that you've been playing in the meantime?
Yeah, just a couple of things to highlight, really. So I've been on a bit of a backlog blitz, because there's so much coming out for me in the near future that I need to carve out the time for, and my gaming time is incredibly limited as it is. So I've been trying to make space for some biggies that are coming that we're going to talk about. A few things that I've been powering through in the last couple of weeks. First of all is a game that you guys may have heard of called Choo Choo Charles.
Yes.
It is absolutely mental. I've never played anything quite like it in my life. Picked it up on a sale sometime last year, and it's been sat on my hard drive ever since. But through it in the last week. For those listening who've never heard of it, it's basically Thomas the Tank horror game, and you are constantly being chased by a fucking spider train that is doing everything it possibly can to kill you, whilst you're trying to complete tasks around a little mini map, and it's quite intense. It's quite spooky, and it's only about 3 to 4 hours long. So, really do recommend that. You can normally pick it up in a sale for a £5. So, well worth your time, and it's on every platform as well. A couple of other things. Played through Star Wars Dark Forces.
Oh,
like an
nice.
old
Oh wow,
dreamlike
yeah,
from kind of
great
PS1
game.
era.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
I'm gonna have to disagree with because I never played it back in the day. Oh my days, I
Oh
couldn't
no,
wait to
she's
finish it.
upset.
No, I'm fine. I was like, sometimes nostalgia carries you through things, like,
Yeah.
or I've played it when it came out, so I've not went back to it. Just in my brain, it's a great game. Like,
Maybe with the nostalgia, maybe it is, but not without. I just had an expensive limited run games copy sat on my shelf. Had to justify buying and play. I guess one more just to mention, and it's just one that people just love, and I still love it now. It's probably a good segue into the next section. Actually, is Paper Mario: Thousand Year Door on the Switch. Oh, it's
Great
just
choice.
so wonderful. It's just so
such a good
cute.
game.
It's probably one of my top 5 Mario games of all time. I think it's
Yeah.
just absolutely perfect. What every RPG would have attack points which are single digits. I just wish everything would go back away from thousands and thousands, and just 1 to 10 would be perfect. So please make that happen, but it's not going
It's
to.
a great little system. It really is. And yeah, I've always enjoyed the Paper Mario series. And anytime I'm a platformer boy at heart, I always will be. That's my bread and butter. But anytime Mario went off and did like an RPG or anything like that, I was so on board. I love it. But no, man, like fun variety there as well. Like very, very different games,
Yeah.
all three of those, which is good fun. I like that. Um, and as you said, great segue because we are going to talk about the fact that Nintendo decided to have another showcase before the showcase or the stream, whatever they have planned.
The pre-showcase showcase.
Exactly. Who knew they had it in them? This is it feels very typical of Nintendo as well because they don't do anything. They don't do anything by any way that anybody imagines they're going to do it. But yes, but with the announcement also came the preface that this will have nothing to basically do with what's going to be talked about in the official Switch 2 showcase and presentation again. So what we expect from this one is all going to be current gen Switch, current gen Nintendo. So any last sort of titles, I guess, that they want to sort of really showcase is like this is for this console before we then start moving wholesale into Switch 2 territory. So yeah, what do we feel like that could hold for us in that case? Because again, we've kind of run down the list of everything that I think was expected to come out this generation. There are obviously still one or two outliers, Metroid Prime 4 and that sort of thing, obviously. But other than that, which again, we can start the conversation about whether or not that is going to be a Switch 1 game or if they're going to maybe shift that over to Switch 2. Who knows? What do you guys feel? Do you think are we going to get one last sort of mainline first party game out in Nintendo on the Switch, do you think?
I just think it's just so kind of Nintendo and audacious that they've got possibly the biggest showcase of the year a week away. They've just said, nah, you know what? Just have another one in the meantime.
Yeah.
You guys just can't wait to see Switch 2 next week, but just have another one. And you know what?
Watch them literally just drop the release date for Hollow Knight Silk Song at a random showcase in the middle of a week before the Switch 2 because they're just like, yeah, we do what we want. We're Nintendo. Like, we can do whatever.
Wow. That would be
Every
quite the uproar.
yeah, well, every time there is a Nintendo showcase, everyone is always like, right, it's going to be Hollow Knight. They're going to say it's Hollow Knight Silk Song. I don't believe it. Like,
No.
it's probably not going to be that. But yeah, I think there would be no reason for them there's no reason for them to have a showcase unless they're going to show new titles that are not going to be compatible with the Switch 2, which makes me a bit like, because the Switch 2 is backwards compatible, yes?
Yes, it's backwards compatible, I think, with basically the vast majority of the catalog, except for the games that they've stipulated are like because of limitations via like the Labo stuff, like the those sort of things where they're much more kind of like, oh, this requires like other materials to work. I think they've basically said like none of that's compatible at all. So any of your games, any of your actual games, I think will be fine.
So it just sort of confuses me what they're gonna announce that needs to be announced the week before, unless maybe maybe it is focused on third party, because I assume the Switch 2 full direct will be like a new 3D Mario, like give me 25 minutes on Mario Kart and tell me that you've removed the blue shell and I'll be happy. Like, like I started playing Mario Kart on the SNES. There was never a blue shell on the SNES. Like,
when times are easy. But yeah, I think there's been said that we have an idea of probably like what their plan might be for the release cadence as well as for games, where it sounds as if they're going to lead with obviously first party with the Switch 2, and then they'll kind of bring out the sort of the third parties and so on and so forth after that, which will likely be things like Elden Ring, the sort of the Witcher 3 equivalents of being brought onto the Switch 2 to be like, hey, look, it can run something like Elden Ring. We did it.
They're not going to run Elden Ring on the Switch 2.
Hey, look, they managed to do it with Witcher 3, and the fact that they did that is still to this day very impressive. So hell, if that can happen, I don't see why not with Elden Ring. And man, if they did, that would be pretty cool. I can see that being a big draw for a lot of people actually.
I think they probably need to start by putting Dark Souls 2 and Dark Souls 3 on the Switch, because it's only got Dark Souls 1 on it currently.
Well, hey, maybe that's what this showcase is all about. Maybe they're fulfilling those last little dreams. But yes, it does strike me as odd. Like, I agree. Like, I think it's really strange that they've done this, where it strikes me as strange that you would want to have two showcases when you have one specifically designed to talk about your next big thing coming, which is literally dominating the whole year, bar GTA 6, where they're sort of jostling for position of which is the bigger deal for the year. And it's possible the Switch 2 will win out just by sheer virtue of GTA 6 possibly, hypothetically being delayed. Switch 2 is not going anywhere. It's happening this year. They've made that clear. But we've yet to have a date or anything like that for GTA 6, so who knows? Maybe they'll win out just by that. It will just bow out, and Switch 2 will dominate the year. But it's already a huge thing. Why have another showcase where you're going to talk about other games which you won't want to highlight as being cross-gen platforms with the next console? You'll want people to buy them. So the best thing you can do is basically imply these are for the Switch. We know that the Switch 2 is coming out, but we're only going to market these as games for this current Switch. Because otherwise, you might as well just wait until you have the other showcase where you're talking about the Switch 2 and go, this game is backwards compatible. This game is backwards compatible. Or, this game can work on the Switch and the Switch 2, whatever way you want to sort of phrase it. It seems very strange to split them to me and possibly cause a sort of marketing snafu where people are going to go like, is it worth me now no longer getting the Switch 2 if all these games are still coming out on this console? Like, where are we at here?
It's got to be third-party titles that they have specific advertising contracts with that are coming out before the Switch 2 releases. Like, they've got to have... So there's so many games that actually are exclusive to Nintendo consoles, even like Square Enix and things like that. People talk about Sony, Square Enix exclusivity, but that's usually around Final Fantasy and things like that. But there's like 20 games every 2 years that come out made by Square Enix that go directly to Nintendo, and it's just because they're cozy farming sims are not really these big budget games or they're smaller Japanese titles that people don't necessarily talk about them. So it has to be third party Switch exclusives that are going to release for the Switch before they release the Switch 2, and thus they are contractually obliged to advertise them as part of that. It's got to be something like that, surely.
I think it will be games as well that aren't going to be Switch 2 enhanced, if that makes sense. So I feel there'll be a lot that Switch 2 event next week, which have got a kind of Switch 2 upgrade with them that are going to have enhancements. But like a lot that we see tomorrow probably is just, Switch 1 is going to run on that. It's going to run fine. But we'll play new Switch 2, but just as it does on a Switch 1. I think we don't officially know that there'll be upgrades available for Switch games yet on Switch 2, but you kind of expect that in the modern kind of gaming space of generations. Yeah, of course. So I think it's known that Pokemon X and Y is going to be cross-gen, but I personally can't see a world where Mario Kart is only Switch 2. Just 150 million people there that are dying to buy that game. And I know obviously Nintendo
They've done it again.
is a however many year old game now. And people are still playing that wherever. But maybe that's me. But I can't see Mario Kart only on Switch 2.
No, I completely agree. Like to leave it sort of behind like that just seems like madness. And that's why I'm just sort of wondering, yeah, how do you split this up? And I think I think what he said earlier, it will be third party tomorrow. It makes the most sense that it's still worth having a showcase for, but it's not something you're not doing the big showcase now. This is just the last of the showcases designed purely for the Switch before we start having Switch 2 conferences. It's kind of like the last hurrah, I guess, before moving on to the new generation.
Although I
yeah.
do think the new Mario Kart will be Switch 2 exclusive. Mario Kart 8 came out on the Wii U, which, we all know did not sell well.
So what do we think then? Let's before we move on to the last news topic, then let's think of what's a gimmick then. What's the gimmick going to be for the new Mario Kart then? Because I'm thinking if they want to go, well, no, this won't make people happy, but I do like the fact that they've got obviously what seems to be the mouse functionality. I want to know if they
mouse and keyboard Mario Kart. What are you talking about?
No, I'm thinking like gear shifting.
Shifting. Manual input for the gears. God, no. Oh my God. You could do that in the arcade version and it's terrible. Like
it'll be horrifying. There'll be people who get really good at it because it'd be the equivalent. It'd probably be the sort of thing you change out for doing the hop to take sharper corners.
Don't take my drift away. How dare you? How dare you take my drift away?
That's how you would drift. That's how you would drift, is changing gears and braking, as opposed to doing this little, hop where you essentially pick up your cart and jostle it aside.
They're not going to take the hop drift away. It's been there since the Super Nintendo.
I know.
They're not.
I'm just.
And also, we will absolutely go to a gaming bar after, like, spoilers for the very end of the podcast. But when we go to the London New Game Plus Festival next week, I will take you to a gaming bar where there is a machine where you have to manually shift gears in Mario Kart, and you can tell me how fun it is afterwards.
Oh, I'm sure. I'll have only good things to say, I'm sure. I didn't even know it existed. What do you think, Mark? What do you think about a quick thought on a gimmick for the next one?
Just thinking kind of top of my head here, I know one thing Nintendo seems to have really adapted with their games, with Tetris and with F-Zero. They love like a 99 mode. So I wonder if we'll get some kind of battle royale battle mode for Mario Kart. That could be
battle royale mode that's back in the SNES version. Oh, because the F-Zero and the Mario one was back in the, like, it was the Nintendo ES Entertainment System version when they did the Mario one.
That'd be interesting, wouldn't it? That'd be kind of cool. I could see it.
Be up for that. Need the blue shell for that, though, V. Couldn't get rid of the blue shell for that.
Yeah. It's gonna happen.
Say you're bad at the game. Just literally say you're bad at the game. They only give the blue shell to the people at the back.
What were you doing back there? Shouldn't have been back there. But of course, that is happening with the Switch 2 showcase is happening in April. Is that correct?
April the 2nd, I believe.
April the 2nd. And of course, we already have a lot of other big things coming up in April. We actually have 2 games that have gone gold recently that I think a lot of us here at Gamer Social Club are very excited for. The first being South of Midnight, which is releasing on, and again, I should have these sort of things up, that would be sensible, Harry. That would be a good idea.
14th. Oh, it's a new format, I think.
14th, was it?
Oh no, the 8th 8th of April.
The 8th, even. Excellent, even better.
Yep.
So,
Yes, I think there is an early. I think there is an early. Yes, I think you can pay for sort of several days
The
early.
access period.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But right, so that's on the 8th, and then we have Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which is on the. Actually, no, it's 20.
Second, I believe. No, it's the 20. You're right. It's the 24th. You're right. Sorry.
Yes, yes. I was hoping I'd get that right because it is the game I'm most excited for. So yeah, definitely, really, really looking forward to that. Can't wait to get my hands on it. But yeah, those two are probably two of the biggest releases so far this year, and both coming up in April. Both coming to Game Pass. One, of course, is from Compulsion Games, who are a first-party studio for Xbox, having made games like We Happy Few and Contrast. And then Expedition 33 is coming from a new studio, Sandfall Interactive? Is that what they're called? I think Sandfall Interactive.
Sandfall Interactive. Yep.
Yes.
You're right.
2 for 2, Harry. Well done. And they are a French studio, and this is their first game. Very much a sort of a building up from grassroots, and it looks really exciting. Looks very, very promising, and very grand as well for a new game, for a first game. So, of course, there is a little bit of, ooh, can they pull it off? But from what we've heard from early impressions of people getting hands on, and from the trailers and things we've seen, I have pretty good feeling about that one in particular. But what do you guys feel like with those two? Do you guys have any strong feelings about either game? I'll start with you, Mark.
Yeah, I honestly, I think Expedition 33 looks like it has genuine possible game of the year quality about it. And it's, as you said a moment ago, Harry, it's insane that is the company's first game. It looks so polished. The cast they've got is mental for a video game. They've got such a good cast. It seems that they've kind of captured a lot of what people really love about Final Fantasies of about 10 to 15 years ago, and that kind of Lost Odyssey style. They've definitely kind of captured that audience. One thing that really appeals to me about the game as well is that developers have been upfront and said it's about kind of 30 hours, 30, 40 hours. It's not a 100-hour metaphor or a 150-hour Final Fantasy slog. And to me, I really don't have the time for those games, and I think a lot of people that just don't. I just think it looks so polished. They were talking this week and saying there's going to be no minimap, which is odd, but I quite like that. I think a sense of exploration and working out what's going on, and the combat looks really, really good fun. I do love a good turn-based RPG, and I think everything we've seen about the game looks absolutely great so far. So I can't wait for that. Really can't wait. And that's part of the reason for clearing the backlog, getting ready for that one towards the end of April.
Good call. Yeah, the polished nature of it is something that really astounds me. Absolutely, since the first moment we saw it as well, because they did a great job of when they first revealed it. It wasn't like hey, this is like alpha, this is an early access. It's like no, this is going to be a full release title. When it happens, and we're putting our best foot forward. And like you said, you've got great looking graphical fidelity. You've got an incredible cast behind it. You've got really expressive, exciting looking combat, even though it's this well versed, entrenched turn based system where they've obviously incorporated sort of timed inputs and stuff like that to kind of add a bit more of an interactive nature during the combat to make it a bit more visceral. And just a lot of style, a lot of clear kind of vision and creativity. It immediately won me over from the moment we first saw it, and so that's definitely going to be my big game for the year. There'll be others. I'm still looking forward to Doom: The Dark Ages as well and things like that. But no, that really, like you said, it captured me. I was part of that whole generation. So seeing that sort of game, I was like, yeah, this is it. What about you, V? Either one of those two excite you?
Both. I'm really excited for both of them. Like, I actually probably am one of the few people that actually played We Happy Few.
It's a great game.
And I really, really enjoyed it. And I also played Contrast. So I think Compulsion, they have a lot of style and their games. And even though not potentially, like We Happy Few is a great game, but I think there was just some missteps in maybe the direction of it in the sort of like procedural generation part of it, etc., instead of just going straight for almost like an Atomfall or a Fallout. Putting those elements in meant it sort of lost its way a little bit, but just like the style of the animations and things that they have, I think South of Midnight, the sort of almost that hand drawn but not quite animated with the characters running at a slightly choppier frame rate than the backgrounds and things like that. I just think it looks fantastic. And that sort of New Orleans, like Creole, Cajun mythology is not really something that I know a lot about. That like the south of like the United States. But I love anything that's like steeped in like old folk tales. Like there's been so many games recently that look at like Slavic folk tales or it's nice to see things that are not just relying back on like your Greek myths, Egyptian, Norse. Like I feel like everything's been Norse recently, to be honest. Like not to say that I don't love Norse mythology, but it's so nice to see like how other cultures treat these sorts of their gods or their superstitions and things like that. So I'm really excited about that, and some of the traversal mechanics just look so fun. Like like just jumping around, like there's almost like a Sunset Overdrive quality to it, like just so much free movement. So I'm very, very excited for that. And I'm also incredibly excited for oh God, it's completely lost my brain because I keep thinking about 33 Immortals. Why we've got two games coming out in the same year with the number 33 in it. Like
33 is the magic number.
Yeah. But I'm so excited for that because it definitely it just looks like the sort of game that I know I'm going to enjoy. Like it's back to like almost like very traditional like European fantasy almost, but big epic story, very almost like your Greed Falls, Final Fantasy, etc., Dragon Age. It just looks great, and the cast looks amazing. The skill tree looks almost terrifying. Like when they showed it off the developers direct, there's like so many nodes. But I know I'm just gonna like start writing things down, and I love that. Like I'm gonna be like, oh well, okay. It was a bit like the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X, which was mentioned earlier, and it's just like this doesn't necessarily look very beginner friendly. But as someone who's been playing video games for 30 years, it looks like it's going to scratch the little itch in the back of my brain that needs that. So I think they're both going to be great. I think Xbox particularly has had an absolute banger lineup over the first 4 months of the year, to be perfectly honest. Like even the little sleeper hits like 33 Immortals. And then you're going to go into May with Doom the Dark Ages. And I would kind of hope they would spread some stuff out just a tiny bit so I get a chance to actually play things. Like potentially. Like, who knows?
Yeah. Exactly. Like I actually paid for the a few days early access to Atomfall, alongside our man Adam, who is not here with us, as I said earlier, because he is busy.
He's playing Atomfall.
He is busy playing Atomfall. Exactly. He is our man on doing the review, and if you haven't already seen,
he's our man on the ground. He's eating tea cakes and drinking tea.
With his little metal detector, snooping around finding tea cakes and taking calls from red phone boxes, as we always do here in the UK. You keep thinking that rest of the world. That is totally a thing that we all still do.
Just smashing up phone boxes with a cricket bat right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's It's a coming of age thing over here. You'll have to do it when he's
Tea cakes are better and different in Scotland, though. I will have to point that out as our resident Scot. Like,
there was a time limit for the podcast. If I don't say anything now, we will be here for far too long. We will have that as a separate conversation. We can do that as a
we'll do it as a short.
Yeah, we'll do it as a short. We'll put that as a short or something like that, which will end up being like a 20-minute long segment. But no, Adam has been playing that, and he's been putting out a lot of quite a few guides already, even in just the short time he's had it, and he obviously intends to keep doing that. But he will be reviewing the game for us as well, so keep an eye on that in future. I hope to get into that as well. I will try and do my best to help him out with some guides too, because I know there's quite a few interesting ones. And as well, there are quite a few ones to do with different endings and stuff like that. So he and I might try and work out a system between us where we might be able to try and cover a whole bunch of those if we can. But yeah, those are the two big titles, I guess, coming out this month. There are some other things to get excited for as well as stuff that's going to be going on with the site. Because, as I said, we are trying out new things all the time. But one thing you can be sure of is that the site is always there. Today, we've actually been going through some visual changes with it, trying to update the site, give it a bit more of a personal look to us, going with a darker theme and that sort of stuff. So we appreciate everybody visiting today, and apologies for any mishaps with the page not loading correctly and that. We're doing what we can to try and make it a better experience for you. As well as give it a bit more of a sense of who we are as a team and everything like that. So yeah, that's currently going on, working around the clock to kind of get that done, as well as obviously continuing to cover things like the news. We will definitely be covering the showcase tomorrow, and we will no doubt be covering the Switch 2 showcase on the 2nd. Keep an eye out for any future reviews of any games coming up. As to whether or not as to when we get these things, we always try and put out reviews. So you can expect a review from us for South of Midnight and, for things like Expedition 33. I know in April, I'm looking at games as well like Blueprints. I know that's one that V is also excited for. I know that Mark has got himself down, hopefully to review Croc, Legend of the Gobbos. We'll see if nostalgia wins through on that one.
Rolling back the Croc, I think, for that one.
Oh, look at that! Oh, I like it. That's a review title right there. But yes, so there are some cool things happening, big and small, all throughout April, and of course, we will be doing all we always do here, trying to get cool interviews with interesting people within the games industry, covering different topics as well. We obviously also have the demo disc. March's issue has been out obviously since I think it was the 3rd or 4th we released it at the end of Steam Next Fest. It was a bumper issue with about 20 odd demos to try out of games that are yet to be released, but also games that are already out, so you can get a taster before try before you buy. And yeah, April will be also getting a demo disc, as is customary. So expect that early on. It'll be either 1st or 2nd. I have got quite a busy week coming up, and then the three of us plus Adam are then going to be going down to London to New Game Plus, which is the new gaming centric, like sort of, I guess, public facing gaming kind of event at the London Games Festival, where I think a lot of it is much more around meet and greets and networking, but also then things like presentations.
BAFTA Game Awards, aren't there?
Yes, and it's part of the Game Awards and stuff like the BAFTA Game Awards. So now you're getting a bit more of a sort of a public-facing opportunity to try out games and stuff like that there, which is why we are going. So you can expect us to do some fun content around that. You can look forward
We've
to
not
that.
been invited to the BAFTAs, unfortunately,
No,
not this year.
No, not yet.
Next year, perhaps.
Next time. Adam kept asking if he was allowed to bring his bath to have wine in whilst he was there, and they stopped writing back. So yeah, but no, yeah. Is there anything else you guys would like to highlight coming up? Anything that you guys maybe are working on in your own time that maybe you want to start teasing or anything like that, possibly?
Yeah, towards the in April, I will be dropping a review for the newest game published by Dontnod, called Koira. So you guys can look forward to a review on that and some coverage. I can't share any more than that, but I can say that we are reviewing it over at the site. So
Anything from you, Mark?
Yeah, really, really looking forward to, as you mentioned a few moments ago, Harry, looking forward to reviewing Croc. God knows how that's gonna hold up after the pain of Glover recently. I don't know. Hopefully, Croc's going to be better than that.
He's going back in.
But a big thing I talked about on the podcast a couple of weeks ago, and there's loads of news today, which has got me beyond hyped. To be honest, is the return of the original Call of Duty Warzone map. There's been lots of news today coming out that they're kind of basically going to roll back the game to as good as what it was back in 2020.
Wow.
The Call of Duty community has gone absolutely mad today. So really big hype for that. Apart from Expedition 33, I'm going to struggle to find any time for any games than Warzone next month because me and the boys are going to be back in Verdansk. So
will it be
Verdansk, yep.
easier or more difficult than it is currently to come into it as a new player? My friend who's like 24 or something made me play Warzone like 3 months ago, and I was like, I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea what any of this is. I think we only got up to like 7th or something, the two of us together as a team, which I think is pretty bad. So yeah, if it's easier, then maybe we can drop back in as a crew, like the Gamer Social Club crew dropping in Verdansk.
Oh God, can you imagine?
Can be your designated sweat for that if you want, if that's what you need.
Absolutely.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, no, that could be fun actually. And again, I've been getting more into the sort of multiplayer stuff because being part of the community here, being part of the team at Gamer Social Club, but also having the Discord and hanging out with people on there, like playing 33 Immortals and stuff like that. I jumped on with Adam and a friend of his to play a bit of Gears one night and stuff like that. And it's great fun. So if you're looking for anybody else to hang out with and just chat and talk about games or play games with, search us out on Discord. We'd love to have you. We're a small community, but yeah, we're passionate. We just want to share games with as many as we can.
We'll put the Discord link in the description of
Absolutely.
the video. And you please come and join us, even if you just want to chat games or jump into some sessions. There's always people ready. Steve will be there, and he will be ready to be your co-op buddy through whatever game you're planning on playing.
Steve, the best of us, will be there to welcome you. But yeah, as far as I'm concerned, I think next things I've got coming up, I've got another developer interview that I've recorded and I'm currently editing that will go up. That will also have a written segment that goes alongside it that will go onto the site. So you have that to look forward to. I'm currently working on some other bits with other developers. I don't want to say anything just yet because I'm not sure 100% if it's going to happen. We're still trying to arrange timings and things like that. But so fingers crossed, another developer interview down the line. And yeah, I'm currently playing. Well, I will be getting stuck into Atomfall. Still playing 33 Immortals. So maybe do a bit more guide material around that if need be. And I've also been enjoying Rainbreaker, which is a fantastic little action roguelike, very akin to something like Hades. Which is really fun. So just been doing that in my own time. I did a little beginner's guide to that as a site. And maybe I'll do a review, because I know that's the last game from Fizbin Studio that sadly are looking like they'll, not be able to continue on afterwards. But they did say that the better the game does, the greater the chance that they'll be able to stick around and keep doing what they're doing. So yeah, think about checking out Rainbreaker. It was on this month's demo disc. So it has a demo you can try out. I do recommend it. It's not a time thing or anything like that. So it gives you plenty of opportunity to just try runs over and over again, as is your want with a roguelike. So yeah, consider checking that out. But otherwise, I think that's us for this episode, everybody. Unless there's anything that we've missed out. I don't think so.
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I'll find out when I go back and watch this and have to do the timestamps and remove the moments where we froze up. Sorry for that, everybody. For those little technical difficulties. 'tis the world we live in, I'm afraid. But yeah, we've got some fun stuff coming up. There are some amazing games coming out. A lot to look forward to, you know, and a lot to get excited for. So yeah, I hope you all take care. Thank you again, you two, for joining me today. Obviously, you can find us also on social media as well. Search us up on the relevant channels. We'll have all of that again in the descriptions below. But yeah, take care of yourselves, everybody. Play some great games, and we will see you all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right.